What is the biggest problem with communist system? Is that, or other authoritarian system, is that it is not got to do nothing with human nature.
Yeah.
What is the paradox with democracy and capitalism? Democracy is not in our blood and not our understanding. It's artificially created, more especially than the communists. Not few hundred. For me, it's like, they are talking about some stuff, some utopia, and like cultural revolution, and 10 of million people dying, and like nobody cares, like nothing happened. For me, it's the biggest paradox. Twice people dies as a Second World War.
Yeah.
Twice people as a Second World War. Can you imagine the numbers? We never comprehend these numbers. We never understand how big this is, and everybody is like.
各位朋友们，大家好，安大家好，我是苏探，欢迎收看这一期的节目。今天我在立陶宛维尔纽斯，我有邀请一位特别来宾 Matas Maldeikis， 是立陶宛的国会议员 Matas. Thank you so much for agreeing to take part in this show and in this interview.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
So as I told you before, we're doing videos about the democratic transformation of Lithuania and about the transferring of ill-gotten party assets of the Communist Party back to the Lithuanian people. And can you, because Lithuania and Taiwan experienced the democratization during the same time frame, right? Late 80s, early 90s. And the experiences probably are to a certain extent similar.
Yeah.
What do you think Lithuanian people and Taiwanese can learn from each other?
Taking the Lithuanian perspective, what happened with our assets coming back to people, most of the people have some kind of documents, some kind of information about before nationalization of their land. Mostly it was about the land of nationalized when communists came. So most of the people have that, and they just showed that to the government, and government gave it back. It was pretty easy for those who have in some kind of archives or something like that. So most of the land for Lithuanians is already restituted to Lithuanian people. More of the problem was, with the Polish minority, we have a little problem there, but more or less the case is closed in that. We've done that. What is the most striking and the biggest problem when you are dealing with a transformation like that? In Lithuanian case is always about the mentality of the people. And we should admit that. We should understand that when we're dealing with that. Because what did Russians do when they come to Lithuania, when they annexed our country? First things, they put all our political elite, economical elite, business elite at that time, and they put that into Siberia to die there.
And Arctic Circle also, there have been deportation of Lithuanian people.
A lot of deportation, and why they did that? It was very logical from their stand of view. They wanted to get rid of our political elite in a sense of the elite that makes your country go forward.
Yeah.
It's always, if you look at the history of the world, it's always not a big part of the people who make the change. And all the people later just follow that. So what Russians do, and they understand that, they was trying to get rid of our elite to erase the memory of what is going on, to create a new society of Homo Sovieticus, how they was calling
like not
that.
sapiens anymore, but something different.
Not sapiens, but Homo Sovieticus, as a people who would be communist mentality and all the things like that. Of course, it's impossible, it's utopia. People don't function like that, how they imagined there. It was engineering in the best way possible from their point of view. So, of course, this project collapsed. And what is the biggest challenge Lithuania is dealing now is to get back, to create a new elite, to create a new people who already live in a free society and thinking very freely, looking at the world very freely and seeing the world from the values-based perspective and not from some cynicism or that communism brought us to that. Okay. So of course it takes time. This transformation in their heads is the most difficult one and the most takes longer term. We have to deal with that, and this is what I would learn from my country with my expertise, and I think in your country there is the same, of course. A lot of people get used to some kind of system. They want to get back to, they have a dream, utopia of, in younger days it was better, the fruits smelled tastier.
The grass was greener.
The grass was greener, the people looked nicer, and all the things that comes from the world that never existed. It's all in our mind. This is how our mentality and mind functions. So to deal with all those transformation that is happening in the world is very hard for some part of society that lived early in the world that everything was told to you to do. And the biggest problem and challenges for democracies is for people to live freely as they want. Sometimes it takes a lot of courage and a lot of will, to live as you please. Nobody will tell you what to do. And sometimes it takes challenge.
And it's also a question of responsibility.
Yeah, of course.
Because people in those authoritarian countries, they have always been told what to do.
Exactly.
And right now you have to make your own decisions for yourself.
To create your own destiny, and you have to take responsibility for yourself. Nobody is to blame. It's easy to blame the dictator or somebody else that something didn't happen. When you are left on your own, you create your own reality, you create your own system, you create your world, and that means you take responsibility if you failed, and sometimes it's much harder.
Matas, what is interesting, you just mentioned that the communist society created people who were cynical.
Yeah.
Why so? And could you give an example of that? Why?
Cynical, in a sense, when I talked with the Western people, it's very easy to see because I'm talking with them and I have a feeling of their naivety. We look at them and thinking, what's wrong with you? World is much crueler than you look at that. And I try to understand for myself where it has come from. Yeah. And I understand, because if you live in a communist society as we lived in Soviet Union, or now Chinese people live in
People's Republic of China.
People's Republic of China, what happened with you? You understand that it's a lot of fake there. You live in a fake reality. They are not building communists. We all understand that communist China has got nothing to do with communists and things like that. They are not building communist society. They are building the dictatorship. And you understand that you have to live in a society, you have to play by rules and say, yes, I see that everything is being done and everything is better and better because you are afraid to tell the truth, So what happens, your personality starts to become dual, if I mean. One that you have in kitchen and in your bedroom, that you think of the world, and you sometimes even afraid to tell yourself how everything functions, because sometimes you're even afraid to tell that in the kitchen to your wife or your husband, because maybe he won't understand you, in a sense that
will report you,
or you will report you, or something. You can't use internet and things like that. You have one reality in the kitchen, as I call, or in a bedroom, and another reality, public reality. Public reality, where you say everything is okay, communist rules, everything free. We are very democratic. We live very freely. We enjoy the system and things like that. It's a dual system, and this duality comes into your nature. And after you get your independence, what's happening? This duality stays with you, of course, because you grow up with this duality. And it's very hard to look at the world and see just what it is. You want to see some different layers because it's not you are not used to live in a reality where it is what it is. You create conspiracy theories, you find someone to blame and things like that.
You don't believe anyone because you cannot trust
of course,
anyone.
because if you are saying some things, maybe there is something down deep more cynical. This is what I call duality. This is how you split your personality, and this is what I feel in all the post-communist countries that they have, and the Western countries don't have. Western people don't understand this duality that we have inside us.
Thank you so much for this answer. And actually, while talking about, there are some things that you would probably be even afraid to say in your kitchen.
Exactly.
Do you know right now in China, they are actually asking little children to report on their parents. If they say something bad about the Communist Party, at their homes.
At their home, because they know, they hear what is going on in their kitchen. If
Yeah.
you coming from a totalitarian point of view, it is very logical.
Yeah.
It is 1984, because the kids will not lie, the kids will tell, and the kids, from the opinion of the kids, you can think of what is going on in the kitchen in the family's environment. That was happening in the Soviet Union, and you know what? That shows for me not the strength of a society and the government. That shows the weakness. The paradox and the problem with the West, it all looks at these little details, let's say, with the kids, with everything else, or with all surveillance, with how Communist Party functions, and they think it's from the point of that is got power. But in reality, in their minds, in the leaders of Communist Party, that shows that they are weak and they are afraid. They are very, very afraid.
Yeah.
If you have to listen what in the kindergartens, what your kids' father's talking in the kitchen, that shows that you understand in what big problem, how big problems you have, because nobody's selling that in reality.
Yeah. That's what I was always talking about in my videos, saying that Chinese Communist Party is scared of the Chinese people.
Of course.
They're afraid of the Chinese people, and they hate Chinese people.
Exactly. This is the biggest part of communist parties. For me, it's like, they are talking about some stuff, some utopia, and like cultural evolution, and 10 of million people dying, and like nobody cares. Like, like nothing happened. For me, it's the biggest paradox. Twice people dies as a Second World War.
Yeah.
Twice people as the Second World War. Can you imagine the numbers? We never comprehend these numbers. We never understand how big this is. And everybody is like, okay. And everybody eats this information and just moves on. This is the paradox. If we are talking, so we have to understand where it's come from, and it's coming from the weakness. It's coming from understanding that your system in reality doesn't function. Do those guys don't understand that their system don't function? Of course they are. They now have a problem with like bubbles in the sector of building buildings and things like that.
Real estate bubble, financial sector.
Things like that. But the thing is, when everybody is paying to this attention, the thing is, the system doesn't work by itself. It's not about one bubble, one sector or something. The system doesn't work. And the biggest problem here is, what is the biggest problem with communist system? Is that, or other authoritarian system, is that it is not got to do nothing with the human nature.
Yeah.
What is the paradox with democracy and capitalism? Democracy is not in our blood and not our understanding. It's artificially created, more especially than the communism, not few hundred years ago in Britain. But capitalist system and democracy in one in a sense, it represents human nature the best. And this is the big answer to the authoritarian regimes. Your system, capitalism, represents the system the best you can do. So this is at the core of the things, because those guys understand that it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You have to be afraid to stop what will happen. And let's say if you take Putin, what is Putin doing in Ukraine? He's just trying to stop the time. He understands that he lost the battle.
Yeah.
He lost the battle before the war, because he understands it's a question of time when new generation of Russians, they want to live in a free society. He understands that. Because young generation, they grew up with internet, they grew up with Western brands, they want to look, they listen to the rappers that come from United States and things like that. They understand that they lost. So what they are doing, they're just trying to stop the time and ruin the system from within. Maybe they ruin faster than we do, but this is not the case. It's always human nature always wins, and human nature is always very, it got no rationality. It's all about emotion, and this emotion want to be free. This is our main driver.
It's about working for yourself, providing for your family, doing the best you can.
Creating your best version and things like that. It never functioned in societies that was created artificially, as a communism, fascism, and things like that. This is the thing that there is. This is the thing they are fighting. They are fighting human nature in the end.
Yeah.
They are fighting their human nature, they are fighting Western human nature, and you will never win against human nature in the long term.